Alrighty, hi everyone, it is I, Mr. Trong, and on this Destination Dragons, we're going to start things a little bit differently today. So, in this Destination Dragons, we are going to be exploring, traveling to Vietnam. Woohoo! Now, some of you may or may not already know this, but my family is actually from Vietnam. My parents were born and raised there, and they moved to the United States of America. And I am known as what we call a first generation Vietnamese American. So, what that basically means is that I was born here in the United States of America, but again, my parents were born and raised in Vietnam. So, how we're going to start by just talking about my family history because I know a lot of us were really interested in hearing that story when I briefly mentioned it here and there throughout the school year. So let's go ahead and dive right into it, shall we? We shall. All right. Here is a basic map of Vietnam with all of the major cities and everything. So my mother and her side of the family were born and raised in central Vietnam in a city called Hue, which is right over here. And Hue is known as the imperial city of Vietnam because a long time ago, when Vietnam was still an empire, Hue was the capital of the Nguyen dynasty. And here is a picture of an ancient castle of the Nguyen dynasty. Oh, that is just so cool looking. All right. Anyways, my mom, her family, born, raised, and were living in central Vietnam in Hue. My father and his side of the family were born in southern Vietnam and born, raised, living in southern Vietnam in a city called Saigon, which today is called Ho Chi Minh City, which is right over here. And here is a picture of Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon back in, I believe, mid 1960s, mid 70s. I'm not exactly sure. Vintage. Um, so yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how my parents came from living in Hue and Saigon to moving across the world to live in the United States of America. So in the mid 1950s, 1955, a war broke out in Vietnam between the northern part of Vietnam and the southern part of Vietnam. And war is a very scary experience for everybody that's involved. So my parents had to escape. They had to leave their homes because if they stayed there, something bad could have happened to them. And so they escaped. The war broke out when my dad was just 12 years old and when my mom was only 9 years old. So very scary experience having to leave your home and having to leave some of your family behind. And when they left, they didn't know where they were going. You know, they had no destination in mind. They were leaving and hoping that somebody would offer them a home, you know. And so my parents were known as refugees. And a refugee is a person who has been forced to leave their country in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster. So both of my parents left using, small fishing boats. So my mom left with her family. So her mom, her dad, her sisters, and her brother. Um, and they eventually found their way to California. They lived there for a few years, and then they eventually moved to New Hampshire. My dad, on the other hand, he left only with his younger brother. So he had to leave his mom, his dad, the rest of his family behind, not knowing whether they'll be okay or not. And that is just such a scary and heartbreaking and sad experience, But my dad eventually got adopted. He was living in the Cayman Islands for a few years because that's where the boat ended up. He eventually got adopted to a family who, fun fact, is living in Candia, New Hampshire, which I believe is very close to Deerfield, New Hampshire. So by then, both of my parents were living in New Hampshire, and that's how they eventually met each other. And here we are. That's our story. So these pictures on the screen right now are pictures of refugees in the 1970s, towards the end of the Vietnam War. You can see Vietnamese refugees on a fishing boat, and you can see this picture of Vietnamese refugees trying to leave with that helicopter. So before I pass things over, um, if we think about it, if we look at the world today, there are still refugees from all over the world. Who there are still refugees who are waiting, who are trying to search for a place to call home. And these refugees have stories that are very similar to my family. And it's just a reminder that, it is our job, it is our duty, it is it is our responsibility to care about each other. It is our responsibility to support one another. It is our responsibility to tell people you belong here. You have a space here in our community. Because at the end of the day, what do we all want? We want a place to call home. We want a place, we want to know that where we are, we're safe, and that we're part of a community. And so it's a reminder, that as we carry on and as we live our lives, it is so important that we show kindness to everybody and that we create a community of caring for everyone, because again, that is what it's all about. And America, I think Deerfield Community School does a pretty good job at creating a community of caring, because those are the last two words of our motto here at Deerfield Community School, right? We think, we learn, we achieve, we create, and we care. And ladies and gentlemen, we care a lot. So that's the end of that story. Okay. So now what's gonna happen, I'm gonna take a little break. I'm gonna refill my coffee mug, and I'll meet you at the end of the video. But until then, I am going to pass things off to Miss Laskowski, and she is going to talk more in depth about the geography and some of the sights of Vietnam, which I am really looking forward to hearing about. So please help me welcome her with a huge round of applause. Woohoo! Miss Laskowski, take things away.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Mr. Trong. Hi everyone, it's Miss Laskowski, and today I'm going to take you to Vietnam. But first, where is Vietnam located? If we are over here in the United States, Vietnam is all the way on the other side of the world where this red arrow is pointing. It's in Southeast Asia. The country to the north of Vietnam is China. To the west, there are two countries, Laos and Cambodia. And to the east and south, it is all ocean. How far away is Vietnam? Well, if you were to take a straight shot from Deerfield all the way to the capital of Vietnam, it would be 8,011 miles. So let's do that. Here we are at Deerfield Community School, and we are going to make our way to Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. Although Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam, it is not actually the largest city. The largest city is Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon. And you guys will get a chance to see some amazing architecture in the cities. So I am going to jump ahead to the geography and climate of Vietnam. Vietnam has a tropical climate, which means that it is warm and humid and it rains a lot. It also has beautiful scenery. So it has hills and mountains and plateaus. You can see it in these pictures here, and all of this mountainous region on the map to the west. It also has 2,100 miles of coast. So the area of the country that's on the water. Really cool. I also wanted to share a little bit of history. So, people have been living in Vietnam for thousands and thousands of years. And although what we might consider the first Vietnamese culture began about 5,000 years ago, one really important historical site is My Son. It's a 4th to 14th century CE religious site, meaning that it was built about 1,500 years ago and used for another 1,000 years. It was important to the My Son civilization. They used it for political ceremonies and religious ceremonies. And there's all this important imagery in the statues and carvings built into these structures. Unfortunately, a lot of this site was destroyed by the US in bombings during the Vietnam War, but there are still some really cool structures left standing. Some of them you can see here, and I'll also show you a little bit of drone footage from the site. I can't even imagine how much time and skill it would take to build all of these structures and statues over 1,000 years ago. And now I'm going to hand it off to Miss Chase, who's going to tell you about a really cool artist and activist.
Thanks so much for that great information, Ms. Laskowski. Hey everyone, it's Miss Chase. Today, I want to talk to you about a map maker. Her name's Tiffany Chung. She was born in Vietnam in 1969, and she came to the United States as a small child with her family right after the Vietnam War. She grew up in California and got both her Bachelor's of Fine Arts and her Master's of Fine Arts there. So she's learned a lot about art. In the year 2000, she moved back to Vietnam to establish her art practice. In 2007, she actually co-founded a nonprofit group there called San Art, which is an art space to help other artists in Ho Chi Minh City. So she's best known for her map work. She embroiders maps, believe it or not, but she does so much more. She does paintings and installations and videos. She kind of does it all, which is super cool. And she's exhibited all over the world. There's an exhibit that she did in 2019 at the Smithsonian Art Institution, which is the exhibit I really want to talk to you about because it's all about her experience as a child coming over to the United States from Vietnam as a result of the Vietnam War. So I'm going to play this video where she talks a little bit about that experience and about her artwork as well. And I think it's super interesting and really important for us to know about.
People ask me whether I see myself as a visual artist, a historian, anthropologist, or archaeologist. And to be honest, I see myself as an artist first and foremost, but I am not afraid of stepping beyond the boundary of art into other disciplines. My name is Tiffany Chung. I'm here at the Smithsonian American Art Museum to discuss my exhibition, Vietnam Past is Prologue.
In her exhibition, Tiffany Chung explores the legacies of the Vietnam War and its aftermath. A lot of her work highlights the experiences of former Vietnamese refugees using maps, videos, paintings, and archival research. The story is a personal one for the artist. She grew up in Vietnam, experienced the war there as a child, and then moved to the US with her family after the war ended.
As Vietnamese Americans living in the US, our narrative of the war is almost invisible. I'm interested in hidden histories or histories that were erased into official records. So the histories are real. They're just not there for you to see.
Okay. So that is a little bit about this exhibit. And I want to show you a few of the pictures
People ask
from
me
this
whether
exhibit.
I see.
Whoops, technical difficulty, guys. You know how that happens. So I want to share for you a couple of pictures from this exhibit. Here are two of her maps. And these maps I think are really beautiful, but they tell a story. And they tell a story about some of the battles in the Vietnam War. So these are from Operation Lam Son, and that's a operation that took place in February of 1971. And so these are actually maps that depict parts of the war. So pretty powerful pictures. Here is another map, and this is a map that she did that shows the journey of many boats out of Vietnam to other countries with Vietnamese refugees. So you can see these red lines are going everywhere. These are the boat paths. And so you can only imagine being somebody that was on one of those boats going quite a distance away from where you live. Here are some paintings that she did about this project. These are paintings of children who are leaving Vietnam and going elsewhere. because of the Vietnam War. And that's pretty heavy, but it's what happened. And I think that these paintings are really emotional and they're really beautiful. And they sort of speak to that side of this thing that happened. This is a picture of one of her exhibitions. And I think it's really nice to be able to see a picture of an exhibition, because oftentimes we just look at a picture alone, not as part of its bigger body of work. And so you can see here, there are pictures of the maps she has made. There are photographs, and they're all sort of in this almost timeline-like fashion, which I think is very intentional and meant to tell her story and the story of so many people like her who left Vietnam because of the war. And had to move to a totally different place. So I think it's very important for us to be able to see this artwork. It's beautiful artwork that tells us something more, about a story, about a part of our history, and that we need more artists like that can talk to what has happened to themselves and to other people in the world. I hope you've enjoyed this. These are some of the resources that I got for this presentation. And I'm going to send you to Miss Davis, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about music in Vietnam. Bye, DCS.
Thanks, Miss Chase. What a cool artist. This is Mrs. Davis, and today we're going to look at a specific type of Vietnamese music. I could have studied so much. Vietnam has highly diverse music. There's imperial music, ceremonial music, theater music, folk, hip hop, pop, you name it. And there's lots of music that's developed with global or foreign influences. But the music that I chose to explore with you today is completely native to Vietnam. Today, we're going to look at Kachu. This traditional music has roots as early as the 11th century, but it was not named Kachu until the 15th century. This music originated in Vietnam and actually developed within the country without global outside influences. So it's a very unique art form that's really only found in Vietnam. It's a complex form of sung poetry and instruments. It's found in the northern part of Vietnam. As you can see here, it's all north and then also in Ho Chi Minh City, and uses lyrics written from Vietnamese poetic forms. And again, this has been performed for over 900 years. So the music is pretty profoundly Vietnamese. Another thing that's really interesting is if your family is involved in a group, you'd often study with that group too. And these are different guilds. And I think that's a really special traditional aspect of this music. This music is used in worship, entertainment, royal shows, and even competition. This art form is inscribed as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage, which means that it's a really important traditional performing art. And down here, this is a picture of who's actually in that ensemble. So we already talked about how it's a sophisticated combination of music and poetry, and it involves 3 artists. So there's a female singer and then 2 instrumentalists. The main female singer plays clappers while performing next to the 2 instrumentalists, and her voice is supposed to be high and clear, but she also ornaments it by singing with her mouth very, very close, or even closing her mouth altogether, which is really different from like American pop music where the singers get a big, big, wide open mouth. The 2 other instruments are the dande, which is the deep-toned 3-string lute, and then a praise drum. And the praise drum I thought was really interesting. The drummer actually communicates with the group, sometimes playing at the end of different phrases of poetry, but also playing to give feedback to the musicians. So if the singer and the lute player are performing well, there might be a specific thing the drummer plays that communicates that. And then when they're not playing well, there's something that they could play to communicate that as well. So let's listen to a little bit of Kachu.
Trời nước một màu, nơi thâm xứ viết quân bản bạc. Cánh về khuya trắng ngân bát ngát.
Another thing about this music that is very important to note is that it's been in sharp decline. So in the middle of the 20th century, Vietnam has suffered wars, and the places where these music guilds or families would play weren't functioning. So there was a sharp decline in passing on this heritage. But there's been a resurgence in the early 2000s as the elders that are masterful in this art form are passing on knowledge to the younger generations. And that's really important because the 60 years before that, it really wasn't practiced or heard or performed publicly. As endangered as this music is, the sophistication and the form and the rules and the interplay between musicians really make this a uniquely and very cool Vietnamese art form, not found anywhere else. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Kachu, and next, you'll get to take a trip with Miss Dicky where you can see some awesome Vietnamese art.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis, for that amazing information about Vietnamese music. It's Miss Dicky, and I'm here to tell you about some bridges in Vietnam. They are so cool, you guys. Let's get to it. So the first bridge I'm going to tell you about is called the Fire-Breathing Dragon Bridge, and that's actually the reason why I chose this for Destination Dragons, because we're all dragons. So the Dragon Bridge is this amazing yellow curvy thing that you see that goes over this river. So bridge is a structure that connects two different things, right? And it usually goes over something like water or a railroad or a valley or something like that where they need to connect to roadways or to pathways. People of Da Nang, Vietnam put out a contest for this, and a firm in New York City actually won with their design. So it opened in 2013. It's about 700 meters long. It has 6 vehicle lanes, so 3 on each side. It has 2.5 meter sidewalk. So that's pretty wide for a sidewalk. That's about, I don't know, like 6 to 8 feet. So so obviously they're welcoming people to walk across the bridge. And it has 2,500 LED lights that illuminate the structure at night. The coolest thing about this bridge is that the dragon actually breathes fire and spits out water on special occasions. So here comes the Dragon Bridge. They're about to show the fire part. This happens every night around 9 o'clock, and people come from all over to see it. Then it spits out water for a little bit, which I think would be pretty cool in the summertime, or Vietnam has a pretty tropical climate, so I thought it felt good to get cooled off from that dragon spit. Here we are driving over the bridge. The next bridge I'm going to tell you about is called the Golden Bridge.
And this is a walking bridge, and it's about 500 feet long, also in Da Nang, and it's at a resort there. So this bridge connects the cable car station with the gardens that they actually call the Love Gardens. And this helps the walkers to avoid a really steep climb up a hill, and also provides a scenic overlook and a tourist attraction. Once this opened in 2018, people started flocking to this resort where they had this really cool bridge. This is what it's like. We've got a couple of drone shots from over the bridge. The big hands are made out of fiberglass and steel mesh. The pathway overlooks some of the mountains in Vietnam. I mean, look at that view. It's amazing. All right, well, that's it from you guys. I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Chung, who already gave us some amazing information about his own personal history. And now he's going to share some musical information. So, take care. I will see you soon.
Alrighty, thank you, Miss Dickey, so much for showing us a little bit about the bridges in Vietnam. That was really cool. And hello, everybody. It is me, Mr. Trong, once again. I got my my refilled coffee mug. You can see it's an entirely different one, and you can see I even did an outfit change and a scenery change all in that amount of time. Wow, Mr. Trong, so quick. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up this Destination Dragons by talking about some bamboo. Woohoo! All right, so you can see here that this is a picture of a bamboo forest in Vietnam, which is very common. Bamboo is, fun fact, also a type of grass, which just grows and grows and grows, which is super cool. All right. So in Vietnam, bamboo is a very important plant for the culture because it symbolizes many things. It symbolizes strength, hard work, bravery, and working together as a community. And if we just go back one more slide, okay, bamboo is a very hard plant to cut. And as you can see here, bamboo likes to grow close together because, again, it's a grass. So that's how it symbolizes working together as a community. And because it's so hard and there's a lot of bamboo in Vietnam, you can make a lot of items such as houses, tools, furniture, musical instruments, wink wink, and much, much more. And you can even eat the bamboo shoots, which are sort of like the seeds of the bamboo. So here's a picture of somebody playing a bamboo flute while on top a water buffalo, which is pretty cool. You can also make these cool looking xylophones out of bamboo. You just have to hollow out the bamboo, as you can see in the back right there. All right, so we'll actually get to listen and watch a performance of bamboo xylophones. So let's go ahead and listen to that. And as we listen to it, I think you might recognize the tune, especially if you've ever noodled around on a piano. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stop my webcam, I'm gonna let this play, and that brings us to the end of Destination Dragons Vietnam. So I hope you guys had a great time. I hope you guys learned a lot of stuff about Vietnam. And until next time on the next Destination Dragons, keep on keeping on, you guys. Onwards and upwards, right? All right. Bye, everyone.